You might think this is a rhino. If so, its appearance has fooled everyone for a full 30 million years. Clear out everything you think you know about biology, because this is not a rhino at all. It is nature's most extreme experiment in redesign. It looks like a heavily armored tank, but it is not even a distant cousin of the rhino. Its real identity is one of the most unbelievable imposters in evolutionary history. 36 million years ago in Egypt, this creature carried a pair of 1-meter-long heavy blades on its head and ruled its world without challenge. You might think these were just tools for taking down rivals. That guess would be wrong again. When scientists scanned the fossils with CT imaging, they were deeply unsettled because these massive horns were actually hollow inside. But that did not make them weak. On the contrary, the interior was filled with maze-like sinus chambers. What does that mean? It means these horns were not just weapons, they were massive natural sound amplifiers. It did not need wild physical clashes, only a single roar. The sound would echo and grow inside the skull, booming across the swamp like a subwoofer. The pressure was overwhelming. But the real mind-bending part comes next. This 2.5-ton armored prehistoric giant, its closest living descendant today, is actually the rabbit-sized hyrax you see in zoos. And genetically speaking, it is also a close ancient relative of elephants. That is like saying Arnold Schwarzenegger's grandchild is Hello Kitty. Hard to believe, right? Look, this is Arsinoitherium, a creature with a fearsome face, but carrying the bloodline of elephants and hyraxes. And this is only the surface of its mystery. If this illusion is not exposed, you will never realize how elaborate nature's visual tricks once were. Turn the clock back to 1901 in Egypt. Today it is endless sand, but back then, when British geologist Peter Neal uncovered this fossil, the scientific world was stunned. Why? Because it looked completely unreasonable. At first glance, experts were willing to bet their careers. This had to be a rhino. The size, the skin, the horns, everything pointed that way until the bones were assembled. Then the room went silent. Take a close look at its legs. Rhinos have bent knees built for charging, like springs storing explosive force. But Arsinoitherium had straight legs, like 4 concrete pillars driven into the ground. This upright column design exists in only one template in nature: elephants. Its pelvis was incredibly wide. This was not built for sprinting. It was built to move steadily through swamps, like a land-based cruiser. A rhino face supported by elephant legs, with hyrax bloodlines, which leads to one of evolution's deepest ideas: convergent evolution. Nature seems to say, no matter who your ancestors were, face the same environment, and survival pushes everyone to copy the same answers, until they look alike. Rhinos and Arsinoitherium, two unrelated species separated by millions of years, handed in nearly identical solutions. But the most unsettling feature was still the massive horns on its head. In early reconstructions, it was always shown as a war machine with horns forward, charging like an armored knight. The image was dramatic, but it broke basic physics. As mentioned, the horns were hollow, and when fossils were cut open, scientists found extremely dense networks of blood channels inside. Which means, if it tried to ram like a rhino before the opponent fell, its own horns would fail first, causing massive internal damage. This was no weapon. It was a vulnerable point on its head. So the real function of the horns, beyond sound intimidation, was closer to a biological cooling system. 36 million years ago, Egypt was hot and humid rainforest. For a 2.5-ton animal, heat control mattered more than combat. Blood flowing through the hollow horns released excess heat, keeping its modest brain from overheating. During mating contests, they behaved more like disciplined wrestlers. No reckless charges, instead horns pressed together, using neck muscles like hydraulic pistons to push. The stronger one prevailed. This bulldozer-style contest decided dominance, while protecting the fragile horns. A peak example of survival intelligence. You might ask, how did such a perfect creature vanish? What ended it? The force that ended this swamp tank was not predators, not space debris, but something you step on every day: grass. Yes, that harmless-looking green grass. Arsinoitherium lived in the late Eocene, when Egypt was still dense wet forest. Soft, juicy leaves were everywhere. It had 44 primitive teeth, perfect for slicing tender plants. It was a selective eater, like a massive harvesting machine, eating non-stop without concern. Then the planet changed. 27 million years ago, climate cooled and dried forests faded. A tough plant took over the land. Grasses built to resist being eaten. It evolved a brutal defense. Its leaves are filled with silica, the same material found in sand and glass. Eating grass is like chewing fine grit. To survive on grass, animals must have high crown teeth, built to endure constant wear and keep growing over time. Horses, cows, sheep, even elephants evolved this trait, but Arsinoitherium did not. It specialized too deeply. All its evolutionary investment went into rainforest living, perfect within its comfort zone. When forests became grasslands, it faced an impossible choice: do not eat and waste away, or eat and wear its teeth down to nothing, leading to the same end: Picture the scene: once ruler of the forest, standing beside a dried riverbed, surrounded by endless grassland. For antelope it was paradise. For Arsinoitherium it was a green nightmare. Eyes placed high for swamp watching, staring at a world it no longer understood. Its massive body demanded hundreds of kilos of food each day, forcing it to chew deadly grass. Teeth wore down one by one, until one day, the biological machine could no longer eat and collapsed. Those once magnificent hollow horns became pale bones scattered on the plain. Ironically, its elephant relatives, with slightly more flexible teeth and diets, endured the change and later ruled Africa. The story of Arsinoitherium is a tragedy of overspecialization. It scored perfectly in the old world, but failed the new one completely. Today, when we see its massive skeleton in museums, do not see it as just another strange beast. It stands as a warning marker for all who come after. In a world that never stays still, when you believe you are perfectly adapted and safe at last, the real danger may already be growing beneath your feet. 30 million years ago the threat was grass. 30 million years later, what will it be? This is Arsinoitherium, a prehistoric giant undone by comfort. Follow me. Next episode we explore a different prehistoric Earth.